The sun glared down like it had a score to settle that afternoon, reflecting off the glass towers of Crestwood City and baking the sidewalks into molten ribbons of heat. Aaron Whitlock's shoes slapped against the pavement with the nervous rhythm of his heartbeat, his single crisp white shirt soaked with the anxiety of 1,000 rehearsed steps. Today was supposed to change everything, the interview at Lanford and Company, the company that could finally lift him out of dead-end jobs and late-night shifts. He clutched his resume like a talisman, rewritten countless times, each line polished until it felt alive with possibility. But life, as Aaron was about to discover, has a cruel sense of timing. As he stepped off the curb onto Weston Avenue, a flicker of movement drew his attention. A young woman stumbled into the crosswalk, her balance betraying her like a leaf in the wind. Her blonde hair tumbled over her face, and her red dress was striking against the muted gray of the city. She collapsed to her knees, gasping, as if the world itself had conspired to knock her down. The crowd ignored her. Phones glinted in hands, and hurried feet skirted past without a glance. Aaron froze, the weight of his ambition pressing against his chest. Every instinct screamed, "Keep moving." But something deeper, something he couldn't name, pulled him toward her. Before he knew it, he was kneeling beside her, gently tilting her head to the side. "Hey, can you hear me?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. She whispered something he couldn't quite catch, eyes fluttering. Her skin was pale, her pulse rapid and faint. He noticed the way her trembling hands clutched at the empty air. "I've got you," he said. "Just breathe. Slow. I've got you." Aaron dragged her to a nearby bus stop bench, using his own body to shield her from the oppressive sun. He offered her water from his bottle and encouraged her to sip slowly. Minutes crawled by. He tried to memorize her face, the faint freckles on her nose, the worry lines around her eyes, the way her gaze was both terrified and distant, as if she carried a storm inside. And then came the first twist Aaron didn't know yet, a shadow at the edge of the street, a man lingering too close, watching. Harper noticed it before Aaron did, shivering, too weak to speak. He followed her gaze and saw nothing specific, yet instinct screamed danger. "Stay here," Aaron said softly, scanning the street. When he turned back, Harper's lips parted in a small, grateful smile. Her name, she whispered faintly, was Harper Lane. Aaron checked his watch. The interview was long gone. The building doors were shut, the opportunity evaporated like steam in the scorching afternoon. And still, he couldn't leave. Not now. Not when Harper's life, tiny and fragile in front of him, mattered more than his own ambition. A cab arrived, and Harper, now slightly steadier, allowed Aaron to help her inside. She looked at him one last time, eyes shimmering with unspoken thanks. He nodded and turned, feeling the weight of everything lost pressing on him. For the next week, Aaron's life slipped back into routine. Deliveries, warehouse shifts, cleaning, a life of survival, punctuated by small moments of quiet despair. He didn't tell anyone what happened, he didn't need approval. He only knew one thing, he had done the right thing. But the universe has a peculiar way of repaying kindness. On Thursday morning, while balancing packages in his arms, his phone vibrated. The display read, "Celeste Rayner, Executive Assistant, Lanford and Company." Aaron froze. His pulse jumped. "Mr. Whitlock," the voice was calm but urgent. "The CEO would like to meet you. Today. Immediately. Please come alone." Shock and confusion collided in his mind. What could this mean? Had they reconsidered? Or had someone reported something unusual about him? By the time Aaron arrived at the towering headquarters, his nerves were stretched thin. The lobby gleamed with sterile perfection. Security scanned his ID, eyes flicking over him with the sort of practiced indifference only corporate America could perfect. The CEO's office was an expanse of glass and steel, sunlight pouring through panoramic windows. Behind a polished mahogany desk sat Vincent Lane, a man whose stern features softened only by exhaustion around the eyes. But Aaron's attention went straight to the sofa beside him. Harper Lane, the girl in red, sat upright, healthy, poised, yet her eyes held the same fragile vulnerability he remembered. Aaron's heart stuttered. Vincent rose, extending a firm hand. "Mr. Whitlock. Thank you for coming." Aaron shook it, barely managing to speak. Harper's gaze found his, and in it, he saw the first hint of the life-altering revelation about to unfold. Aaron's breath caught in his throat as Harper's eyes met his. She didn't speak, yet the intensity of her gaze told him that the moment they had shared on the street, the moment he chose kindness over ambition, was remembered in detail. His pulse raced, not from the heat this time, but from the sudden realization that this encounter was far from ordinary. Vincent Lane motioned for Aaron to sit. Harper remained on the sofa, calm now, but Aaron noticed her fingers twitch nervously. "Mr. Whitlock," Vincent began, his voice steady but layered with a subtle weight, "I've heard about your choice last week. About helping someone in need when your own career was on the line." Aaron blinked, unsure how much to say. I just did what anyone would have done." Vincent leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Perhaps. But few do. That's why you're here. And that's why you're not simply being offered the position you applied for." Aaron swallowed hard, a mix of disbelief and hope clawing at him. "I don't understand." Before Vincent could answer, Harper spoke, her voice calm yet haunting. "You have no idea, Aaron, how much you saved me. That day, it wasn't just exhaustion. I was in danger. Someone was following me." Aaron froze. His mind raced. Danger? Her collapse had seemed like nothing more than fatigue. He hadn't even noticed the shadow on the street, the man lingering nearby. Harper's gaze flicked toward the office window. "The street, the cab. I saw him. He's been watching for days. I thought I could handle it, but that day. I couldn't." Aaron felt a chill creep up his spine. He remembered the strange figure, the lingering eyes, but had assumed it was coincidence. Now, the stakes were higher than he'd imagined. Vincent's voice cut through the tension. "Harper's been under immense pressure. A corporate disaster, mishandled project files, missing funds, she discovered the errors and felt responsible. But the real danger," he paused, letting the words sink, "was that someone wanted to see those mistakes exploited. If she had collapsed a few moments later, we might have faced serious consequences." Aaron's mind reeled. The girl he had helped in the street was not just any girl. She was the CEO's daughter, carrying a burden that no one in the office even suspected. And by staying with her, he had unknowingly protected not only her but the company. Vincent's tone softened. "I wanted to see how you would act in a situation with no immediate reward. That's why this meeting is happening. It's a test, your character, your choices." Aaron shook his head, speechless. I didn't know. He struggled to articulate the mix of fear, awe, and humility coursing through him. "I just helped." Harper's voice was quieter now, almost a whisper. "And that's why I trust you. That's why I had to find you. No one else stopped. No one else stayed." The office door opened suddenly, and a young man in a sharp suit entered. He was an assistant from Aaron's interview week. But the familiar face now wore a faint smirk of subtle disdain. "I see you've made it here. I warned the company about wasting time on idealists like you." Aaron's chest tightened. Someone had tried to undermine him before. Perhaps it was coincidence, perhaps envy, but the timing made it feel deliberate. He realized then how fragile opportunities were, how easily they could be sabotaged, and how much courage it took to act rightly despite it all. Vincent's gaze snapped toward the man. "Thank you for your input, Darren. But character cannot be measured by envy or fear." His tone was sharp, final. Darren's smirk faltered, replaced by a grudging respect, or perhaps frustration at losing control over the narrative. Harper leaned slightly closer to Aaron. "They test people like this, all the time. They see who can be trusted, who will act ethically under pressure. And you, passed without even knowing it." Aaron's mind raced. His simple act of kindness had triggered a chain reaction of recognition, trust, and opportunity. But there was more, he could feel it. This wasn't just about a job, it was about life, loyalty, and the unexpected ways choices define destinies. Vincent finally spoke again. "Aaron, I am offering you a position higher than what you applied for. Assistant coordinator. Full benefits, long-term growth. But there is one condition." He paused, his gaze steady. "You must continue to act with integrity, without expectation, because Harper's safety, and by extension, this company's integrity, depends on people who do the right thing when no one is watching." Aaron nodded, understanding the gravity. He wasn't just being offered a job, he was being entrusted with responsibility that extended beyond spreadsheets and office protocols. Harper smiled faintly, the weight of her recent ordeal softening in her eyes. "I owe you more than a thank you, Aaron. But more than that. I need someone I can trust. Someone I know won't abandon what's right, even when it costs them everything." A wave of realization hit Aaron. He had already abandoned nothing, he had chosen kindness over ambition, and in doing so, he had gained far more than he had imagined. The tension in the room eased slightly, but a subtle awareness lingered. Aaron wasn't out of danger, there were still eyes watching, motives hidden, secrets to unfold. Yet he had made the critical first choice, and sometimes, in the face of uncertainty, that was enough to change everything. Vincent's voice broke the silence. "Welcome to the company, Aaron. And Harper, thank you for trusting someone you just met. That faith is rare, and it will shape both of your futures." Aaron's chest tightened as Harper extended her hand, this time not trembling, not fragile, but steady. He grasped it, sealing a connection that had begun on the hot streets of Crestwood City, forged in kindness, and strengthened by unseen tests and hidden truths. And just as he thought the moment had calmed, a quiet ping from Harper's phone caught her attention. She glanced at it, a flicker of worry crossing her face, before her eyes met Aaron's again. "There's more you need to know," she murmured. Aaron's pulse quickened. He realized this was far from over. The real tests, and the deeper secrets, were just beginning. Aaron's gaze followed Harper's eyes as she glanced at her phone. Her fingers trembled slightly, despite the earlier composure she had regained. She didn't speak immediately, instead, she took a deep breath, as if deciding whether to reveal a truth that might upend everything Aaron thought he understood. "There's someone following me," she said finally, her voice low, almost a whisper. "I didn't want you involved before. I thought it was temporary, a mistake, someone curious. But it's not. It's deliberate." Aaron's stomach tightened. His mind flashed back to the shadow he had glimpsed at the street that day. He had dismissed it then, thinking he was imagining things, but now the puzzle pieces began to snap into place. "Deliberate?" he asked cautiously. "Who? What do they want?" Harper shook her head. "I don't know fully. But my father's company, there was a financial discrepancy last month. I found it. Someone tried to cover it up. I confronted them, and after that, I started noticing a pattern, unfamiliar cars, strangers lingering in alleys near my apartment, phone numbers I didn't recognize calling and hanging up." Aaron's pulse quickened. He had expected pressure, tests, perhaps the stress of the corporate world, but not actual danger. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. Vincent Lane, who had been observing quietly, spoke in his steady tone. "Aaron, Harper has shown remarkable composure in the face of threats, but we need someone we can trust implicitly. You have proven that choice matters more than ambition, and that's why you are here. But now, you must understand the environment you're stepping into." Aaron nodded slowly, the weight of the responsibility settling on his shoulders. The office, the interview, the opportunity, it all seemed trivial compared to the situation before him now. Helping Harper wasn't just an act of kindness, it was potentially putting him in the path of people who would not hesitate to harm those who uncovered truths. Harper continued, her voice gaining strength. "I thought I could handle it on my own. I really did. But when I collapsed that day, I realized I couldn't. That's why I needed you. You were the only person who chose to stay, even when it cost you everything else. Aaron swallowed hard. The word struck him deeply. He had thought of his lost interview, his missed chance to change his life, but suddenly, all of that seemed insignificant. The meaning of his actions was far greater than the opportunity he had sacrificed. Vincent leaned forward. Aaron, part of this test, this process, was to see whether you could act without expecting recognition. That day, you didn't know who Harper was, yet you stayed. You didn't consider the consequences for yourself. That is the rarest quality we look for in people who will handle responsibility, especially when the stakes are invisible. Aaron exhaled, a mixture of pride and disbelief filling him. But before he could fully process Vincent's words, Harper's phone pinged again. She glanced at it, her eyes narrowing. "It's him," she said quietly. "The one who's been following me. He knows I'm here." Aaron's heart leaped. "Do you mean, he's outside?" Harper shook her head. "No, not yet. But he knows I've met you. And if he suspects anything," she didn't finish the sentence, but Aaron understood the implication. Danger was imminent, and he was now involved. Vincent stood, his expression tightening with concern. "We'll handle this. But Aaron, part of your role now will involve vigilance. You need to understand that trust isn't given lightly in this world. It's earned through actions, through choices, and sometimes, through risks." Aaron felt a surge of determination. The stakes were terrifyingly high, but he knew he couldn't turn away. Not now. Not after Harper had trusted him, and not after he had already proven himself in a moment when no one was watching. Suddenly, Harper's phone rang again. She hesitated, then answered. The voice on the other end was calm, measured, but laced with menace. "Mississippi Lane," the man said. "I see you've made a new friend. That could be dangerous for him. For you. Be careful who you trust." The line went dead. Aaron's fists clenched. Danger was real. It wasn't abstract. It wasn't part of a corporate test anymore. And yet, the certainty he felt wasn't fear, it was resolve. Harper turned to him, eyes meeting his. "I can't go back to pretending I'm just another employee's daughter. I need someone I can rely on. And I know you're that person." Aaron nodded. "I won't leave your side. Whatever this is, we'll face it together." Vincent interjected, his tone firm. "Aaron, the decision isn't just about hiring you anymore. It's about entrusting you with integrity, loyalty, and courage. If you choose to accept this role, you will be stepping into a world where every choice matters, where someone's safety, and possibly the future of this company, depends on the right action being taken at the right moment." Aaron's chest tightened. He realized he was no longer just an applicant, he was a participant in something much larger, something dangerous, something that demanded not just skill but moral fortitude. Harper's hand found his on the sofa. "I know I've only just met you. But you proved yourself when it counted. Now, it's not just about kindness. It's about trust. And I trust you." Aaron swallowed hard, aware that everything he had ever hoped for, career, stability, recognition, paled in comparison to the responsibility and connection now thrust upon him. The city outside the glass walls seemed smaller suddenly, a minor detail compared to the unfolding reality before him. And in that moment, Aaron realized that his life had irrevocably changed, not by ambition, not by interviews, not by effort alone, but by a single choice, a moment of courage, and the trust of someone whose life now depended on him. Yet, lurking beyond the office doors, the shadow he hadn't fully noticed was waiting. Someone was watching, and the next test was about to begin. The office windows reflected the bright city streets outside, but Aaron's focus was fixed on Harper. Even in her composed state, there was a subtle tension in her shoulders, a quiet alertness that spoke of unseen threats. Her phone buzzed again. This time, Aaron gently held it in his hand before she could answer. The caller ID read, "Unknown," and he felt a flicker of anger rise. "Harper," he said quietly, "we need to know who this is." We can't just wait for him to make a move. Harper bit her lip, hesitation flashing in her eyes. I've tried before. Whoever it is, they cover their tracks. I don't even know their name. All I know is that they've been watching me for weeks. Every alley, every street, every apartment I've entered, they've been there. Aaron's mind raced. The warmth of the office, the sunlight pouring through the windows, all felt like a fragile shield against the reality they now faced. Someone dangerous was close. And Aaron had stepped right into the middle of it. Vincent Lane spoke, his voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. Aaron, part of your role now will involve ensuring Harper's safety, but not by shielding her entirely. You will need to anticipate threats, understand patterns, and act decisively. And now, we have an opportunity to test that ability. Aaron's brows furrowed. A test? Yes, Vincent said. The person following Harper has been persistent but cautious. We have some leads, security footage, sightings, behavioral patterns. If we act correctly, we can identify them. If we hesitate, the situation could escalate. Harper's eyes met Aaron's, a mix of relief and fear. It's dangerous. I know it sounds like overkill, but this isn't just a stalker, they're after information. Something I uncovered at work. If it gets out, it could ruin my father's reputation, and maybe worse. Aaron felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He had imagined danger abstractly in movies or novels, but this was real. And it was now his responsibility, not just for Harper, but potentially for the company itself. Vincent handed Aaron a tablet, displaying security camera footage from the street where Aaron had first helped Harper. Watch carefully, he said. Notice the man at the edge of the frame. Look at how he moves, what he's carrying. Pay attention to small details, these will matter. Aaron leaned in, squinting at the grainy images. He saw a tall figure lingering, a briefcase clutched tightly, eyes scanning the area constantly. There was nothing overtly threatening, but the persistence in his movements spoke volumes. Harper whispered, "That's him. That's been following me all along." Aaron studied the footage for a long moment, then looked up, determination settling in. We need to anticipate him. We can't wait for him to make a mistake, we need to act first. Vincent nodded approvingly. Exactly. And that is why you are here, Aaron. This is not just about a job, it is about judgment, courage, and ethics under pressure. You passed the first test simply by helping Harper. Now, the stakes are higher. Aaron's phone buzzed suddenly. He glanced down, another message from an unknown number. It read. She trusts you. That is dangerous. Be careful. Harper's hand shook slightly as she read it over his shoulder. He knows about you, she murmured. About us meeting. He's testing reactions, seeing if I can be manipulated through you. Aaron's jaw tightened. The realization hit him, this wasn't a random stalker. This was someone methodical, someone dangerous, and someone watching every decision they made. Their morality, their trust, and their choices were being scrutinized, just as Vincent had hinted, but now in an immediate, life-threatening way. Vincent broke the silence. Aaron, you must understand, danger often comes from those who move unseen, who manipulate and exploit small vulnerabilities. Your ability to stay calm, make the right choice, and act decisively will determine the outcome here. And Harper, you must trust him. This is part of what we mean by character under pressure. Harper's eyes met Aaron's. She nodded slightly. I trust you. The room grew still, tension thickening like smoke. Aaron's mind raced with possibilities: confront the stalker directly, set a trap, alert security, or perhaps bait him into making a mistake. Every decision carried consequences, some invisible until it was too late. Then the office door creaked, and a small envelope slid under the door. Harper picked it up cautiously. Inside was a single photo, Aaron, helping her on the street, captured from an angle she hadn't known. On the back was written, in neat, almost clinical handwriting. I see you. Every choice. Every step. Aaron's stomach dropped. The stalker wasn't just someone outside, they had surveillance, knowledge, and control over information. Every move he and Harper made could be observed. Vincent's expression darkened slightly. He's skilled. But all skills have weaknesses. Aaron, it's time for you to act. Not impulsively, not recklessly, but decisively. Harper's safety, and the integrity of the company, depend on your choices now. Aaron felt the weight of it fully for the first time. This wasn't about ambition or career success anymore. It wasn't about gratitude or recognition. This was about life, trust, and morality under pressure, the very things that had defined his decision on the street that fateful day. Harper's hand found his again. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly, "we face it together. I wouldn't have survived the last week alone, and I won't face this one without you." Aaron nodded, swallowing the rising fear. The shadow that had once seemed distant now loomed large, but he knew something profound. He had already proven what kind of man he was. And now, the test was far from over. Outside, unseen through the towering glass walls of the office, a figure watched. Every move, every interaction, every decision, catalogued and analyzed. But Aaron and Harper, united by trust and courage, were about to face the first real confrontation with a shadow neither of them could fully see, yet. The office lights cast long, sterile shadows across the floor, but Aaron barely noticed. His focus was entirely on Harper, whose posture radiated controlled alertness, but whose fingers occasionally tapped nervously against the arm of the sofa. Every sound from outside, footsteps echoing in the hallway, the hum of air conditioning, felt magnified. Aaron's phone vibrated again. This time it was a short message. "Meet me at the corner of 12th and Pine. Alone. Now." Harper's eyes widened. "It's him. He wants to see you. Alone." Aaron's chest tightened. He glanced at Vincent, who had been quietly observing. The CEO's expression was unreadable but tense. Finally, Vincent spoke. "Aaron, this is not a request. This is a choice. You can go, or you can wait and plan, but understand, every delay changes the outcome. He is dangerous, but he is also predictable in his method. This is your chance to act on judgment, integrity, and courage." Aaron's jaw clenched. He realized immediately, the decision was not just about him, it was about Harper, about the company, about integrity under pressure. His thoughts flashed to that moment on the street, when he chose to stay with a stranger instead of chasing ambition. That moment had defined him once, now it would define him again. He turned to Harper. "I'll go. But you need to be safe. Stay here, call security, and stay inside until I say it's clear." Harper hesitated, then nodded. "I trust you. Just, be careful." Aaron left the office, stepping into the bustling city streets, his heart pounding in rhythm with the chaotic pulse of the city. He felt the tension in every shadow, the menace in every passing pedestrian. And then he saw him, the figure from the photo, standing across the street under the shade of a building, partially obscured, watching. Aaron approached cautiously, keeping his distance, but his eyes never left the man. The stranger was tall, wearing a dark jacket and sunglasses, seemingly calm, almost unnervingly so. His gaze was fixed on Aaron, and a slow, deliberate smile crept across his face. "You're brave," the man said calmly as Aaron approached. "Or foolish. I'm still deciding." Aaron's fists tightened. "Who are you? What do you want?" The man tilted his head slightly, considering. "I want what everyone wants, leverage. Information. Advantage. Mississippi Lane has something I want, and you are a complication." Aaron's mind raced. "You won't get away with this. Not now, not ever." The man's smile widened. "You underestimate patience. And observation. I've watched everything. Every choice you've made, every hesitation, it's all led to this moment. Now, let's see if you're as capable as you claim." Aaron realized suddenly that this wasn't just a threat, it was a test of courage, judgment, and moral fortitude, just like Vincent had hinted. But unlike the office, the stakes were immediate, tangible, and dangerous. He kept his voice steady. You want Harper's secrets? You'll have to go through me. You'll have to prove yourself, because I won't let you use her, or me, for your games. For a tense moment, the man simply watched, measuring Aaron. Then, almost imperceptibly, he moved slightly, testing distance and reaction. Aaron mirrored the motion, aware of every possible angle, every possible escape route. Then came the first crack in the calm. The man's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, eyes narrowing. Aaron realized the stalker had been waiting for instructions, and now he had received them. The subtle shift in his posture revealed both tension and impatience. Aaron seized the moment. Using his body as cover, he edged closer to the shadowed alley beside them, calculating the distance, the timing, the risk. He had no weapons, no backup, only his presence, his judgment, and his resolve. You think I'm a complication? Aaron asked, his voice calm but firm. Then you don't know me at all. The man's eyes flickered, just for a moment, and Aaron acted. A swift move, forcing the stalker toward the alley wall, cutting off his escape route. The man resisted, but Aaron's determination was unyielding. The two circled, cautious, testing strength against strategy, tension crackling in the air like electricity. Suddenly, a shout echoed from down the street, Harper's voice over a security radio. The man froze, realizing he had been observed all along. Panic flashed across his face. Aaron saw his chance. It's over, he said calmly, moving to block any further attempt. The man hesitated, weighing his options. Then, in a quick motion, he fled, disappearing into the maze of streets, leaving behind a sense of unresolved danger, but also a victory, a moment of courage and judgment that had mattered. Aaron's chest heaved, sweat and adrenaline mingling. He realized that the threat had not been eliminated entirely, but he had protected Harper, proven his character under pressure, and survived the first confrontation with real danger. When he returned to the office, Harper rushed to him, her eyes wide with concern and relief. Aaron, you faced him. Aaron nodded, exhaustion and relief mingling. Yes. And we'll need to be ready. He's not done. Vincent's voice cut through the tension, calm and commanding. You acted with integrity, courage, and foresight. That is exactly what this company, and life, requires. But remember, Aaron, this is only the beginning. Real challenges test every aspect of character, loyalty, judgment, courage, and morality. You passed the first trial outside the office. Now, the deeper truths and pressures begin to surface. Harper's hand found Aaron's again, this time firm, steady. You didn't know what you were stepping into, but you acted anyway. That's why I trust you. Aaron's mind raced with the realization that every choice from here on mattered even more. The danger had not ended. The secrets were not fully revealed. And yet, he knew one thing with absolute certainty, he would not falter. Not now, not ever. The office was quiet when Aaron returned, but the calm was deceptive. Harper's fingers still trembled slightly as she held her tablet, reviewing reports and spreadsheets. Something had clearly unsettled her beyond the immediate danger of the stalker. Aaron approached cautiously. Harper, what exactly were you protecting? What's the secret? Harper hesitated, glancing toward Vincent before speaking. It's not just a missing file or a small error. Last month, I discovered discrepancies in one of the company's most sensitive projects, financial reports, contracts, some of them manipulated. Someone inside tried to cover it up. Aaron's eyes widened. Someone at the company? Harper nodded grimly. Yes. And they were clever. Too clever. I thought I could handle it myself, but once I confronted a few people, that's when the threat started. I didn't realize how far they would go. Aaron's chest tightened. The stakes were higher than he imagined. He had thought danger came from the shadowy figure outside, but now it was clear that the threat was internal as well. Someone trusted in the company was willing to endanger lives to protect themselves. Vincent's voice was calm but firm. Aaron, what Harper has uncovered could cost this company millions, or worse, ruin it entirely. That's why we need someone like you, observant, ethical, and decisive. You proved your character once. Now, it's time to act again. Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle fully on his shoulders. But before he could respond, Harper's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, and her face paled. "It's Darren," she whispered. "The guy from the interview week, the one who dismissed me as just a CEO's daughter. He's involved in this. He's the insider." Aaron's heart raced. Darren. The man who had sneered at him when he had lost the initial interview. The man who had seemed inconsequential, petty, and jealous. Now, he was revealed as the architect behind the threats, the internal manipulator, and the shadow stalking Harper. Harper's voice trembled slightly as she continued. "He's been trying to control information, manipulate projects, and cover his tracks. I confronted him before, but he's clever, he anticipated every move I made. He didn't expect you, though. You're unpredictable." Aaron's jaw clenched. "Then we stop him. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now." Vincent nodded. "I've already secured preliminary evidence through security footage and digital logs, but Darren is smart. He'll cover his tracks, mislead, and try to manipulate others to protect himself. Aaron, your judgment, courage, and trustworthiness are crucial. You cannot underestimate him." Harper's eyes met Aaron's. "I don't know if I would have survived this without you. But now, we need to expose him before it's too late. Every move matters. One misstep, and he could disappear, or worse, try to silence us." Aaron felt a cold determination settle in him. The stakes were now crystal clear, it wasn't just about kindness, career, or opportunity anymore. It was about life, trust, and uncovering the truth against someone who had power, access, and cunning on their side. Vincent handed Aaron a folder. Inside were the reports, security notes, and emails that Darren had tried to manipulate. "Use this wisely. And remember, Aaron, discretion is as important as courage. The right choice at the right time matters more than brute force." Aaron took the folder, understanding the full weight of what he held. The path forward was dangerous, layered with deception, and fraught with ethical dilemmas. But he also understood that he had already proven himself once by staying with Harper when it mattered most. Now, he would prove himself again, in a far more complex and perilous way. Harper's hand found his again. "I trust you. Not just because of what you did on the street, but because of who you are. We can't afford mistakes now. But I know we'll get through this together." Aaron nodded, feeling a surge of resolve. "We expose him. We stop him. And we make sure he never threatens you, or this company, again." Outside the office, the city continued its indifferent hum. But within the walls of Western Industries, a storm was brewing, secrets would be revealed, loyalties tested, and the true measure of courage and integrity would be determined. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, Darren was already planning his next move. The night settled over the city like a dark velvet curtain, the streets below glittering with distant lights that seemed oblivious to the storm brewing inside Western Industries. Aaron and Harper sat in a quiet conference room, papers and tablets spread before them. Every detail, every message, every suspicious email had been meticulously compiled. Darren's trail was now visible, but he was clever, and one misstep could cost them everything. Aaron studied the folder Vincent had given him, tracing patterns, timestamps, and correspondences. "He's not just manipulating reports," he said slowly. "He's been diverting funds, sabotaging projects, and creating fake discrepancies to cover his tracks. And he's doing it in a way that implicates others if we move too quickly." Harper's eyes widened. "That's why he's been so dangerous. He doesn't just threaten me, he manipulates everything around him. One wrong move, and everyone else could get hurt too." Aaron nodded. Which means we need a plan. Not just any plan, we need to bait him into revealing himself without letting him know we're onto him. One slip, and we catch him red-handed. Harper leaned closer. I've noticed one pattern. He always checks the same security camera before leaving the building. He believes it's the only blind spot we have. Aaron's eyes lit up. Then that's where we strike. We set up surveillance, make it look like we're still unaware, and wait for him to make the move. Vincent, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. You both understand the risk. If Darren suspects anything, he could disappear, or escalate. But I trust your judgment. This is your moment to prove what I've seen in both of you: courage, integrity, and decisiveness under pressure. The hours dragged by as Aaron and Harper prepared the trap. Monitors were positioned, digital logs carefully manipulated, and the office quiet except for the soft hum of computers and distant city noise. Every heartbeat seemed amplified. Then, just after midnight, the shadow appeared. Darren stepped into the frame, checking the familiar security camera. Confident, arrogant, unaware that Aaron and Harper were watching his every move. He moved toward the server room, thinking no one could follow without being noticed. Aaron's pulse quickened. Now, he whispered to Harper. They moved silently, stepping into positions that would block every possible exit. As Darren approached the servers, Aaron's voice echoed calmly but firmly, looking for something, Darren? The man froze, his confident smirk faltering. How did you? Harper stepped forward, holding a tablet with irrefutable evidence, manipulated reports, forged emails, and the very financial discrepancies Darren had tried to hide. We know everything, she said steadily. Every move you made, every cover-up. It's over. Darren's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, the room was filled with a tense silence. Then he lunged, trying to grab the tablet, but Aaron was faster, intercepting him and forcing him back against the servers. The physical confrontation was brief but charged, a collision of calculated skill and raw determination. You underestimated us, Aaron said, steadying Darren. You thought no one would notice. But we did. Every choice you made, every corner you tried to hide in, it all led here. The office doors opened suddenly, and security personnel entered, alerted by Vincent's earlier signal. Darren realized he was trapped. His arrogance faltered into desperation. You don't understand. You can't prove, he stammered. Harper held the tablet high. We can. And we will. The board, the authorities, they will know the truth. And justice will be served. Aaron stepped closer, voice calm but unwavering. You threatened lives, manipulated people, and tried to destroy trust. It ends tonight. Darren's shoulders slumped, the fight leaving him. He realized, too late, that every manipulative plan, every threat, had been outmatched by integrity, observation, and courage. Vincent entered, eyes sharp but approving. Aaron, Harper, you've done more than uncover a criminal. You've restored integrity, protected the company, and shown what character truly means under pressure. Harper's eyes met Aaron's, a mixture of relief, admiration, and gratitude. I knew you'd be the one to protect me, even when you didn't fully understand the danger. Aaron shook his head, a small smile breaking through exhaustion. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was the right choice. Just like the day you collapsed on the street. Just like every choice since. The night air outside seemed calmer, quieter, as if the city itself exhaled. Aaron realized that life had a strange way of testing people, not just for ambition or skill, but for integrity, courage, and loyalty. And sometimes, the moments that seemed insignificant, stopping to help a girl on the street, trusting someone unexpectedly, became the very moments that defined a life. Harper extended her hand. Thank you, Aaron. Not just for tonight, for everything. You didn't know what you were stepping into, and you never wavered. Aaron took her hand, firm and steady. I never will. Not when it matters. And as Darren was escorted away, defeated but alive, Aaron and Harper understood that their trust, their courage, and their choices had not only changed the course of their lives, but had forged a bond stronger than fear, danger, or ambition could ever break. The city slept, unaware of the storm that had just passed, while inside Western Industries, two people knew the true value of integrity, courage, and trust. And they were ready for whatever came next. The sun rose higher, casting golden light on a world filled with possibilities, shadows behind them, and a future built on courage, integrity, and unwavering trust. And so began a new chapter, not just for Aaron and Harper, but for everyone who had witnessed that simple, profound truth: sometimes, helping someone in need can change your life in ways you never imagined. Thank you. Now tell me from which part of the world you are watching this, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss any story.